Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Welcome everybody to the Safina Society Nothing But Facts live stream. Let's start off right off the bat on this beautiful Thursday in the great state of New Jersey. The weather is sort of crisp, I would say, but sunny. It's that type of sweater weather. It's one of my favorite seasons. Sweater, but not jacket type of weather. Scarf, but not too cold. So let's get straight to this saying. And Omar, why don't you fire up the poster for Naz's book? Here is one of the fallacies that atheists use, and a lot of people fall into this. Okay, they see something bad, and let me just read straight from the book. How can we deal with evil? A possible option, as we have seen, is to abandon belief in God or simply stop caring about his existence. Now, this is not a solution. Why? Even if evil is no longer an intellectual problem for a denier of God, it is still felt, meaning you didn't do anything to the evil. The evil's still there, right? You're still in pain. How did you solve your problem? By rejecting God, just because evil exists. Even if you do not believe in objective good and evil, pain is still pain. Denying God only compounds the problem. I always give the example of Hitler. He is like the paragon of evil in our day, right? All right, so you denied God, you denied hell. What's the result? The result is that Hitler got away with it, right? That's the result. Hitler gets away with it. He puts one bullet in his head, allegedly, which, you know, I'm not from the camp that he did. I'm from the camp that he went to Argentina. You know, people didn't really, or Chile even. Look it up where are the eyewitnesses of his body in the casket? Then maybe, right? Guy like that, we need tawatur on his death. Anyway, regardless of that, I was about to say, you know, the worst thing in the world. Irregardless. Okay. Regardless / irrespective of that issue, he puts a bullet in his head and he got away with killing all those people and all the evil that he did. So how is that? How did you solve your problem? The believer at least holds, right, that he's going to burn in hell. And he's going to be judged for every single murder that he committed. So he says that you still feel pain. That's why this is a fallacy. And I'm telling you, so many people, something bad happens, they reject God. The most unbearable kind of evil is when we suffer and we cannot find some meaning or redemption to it. Well, what is the reason and the meaning? Well, the meaning is that you have free will. Everyone could do what they want. And that means good or bad. If you want people to do good, to have free will, but as soon as they come on the edges of evil, they get stopped. Then they don't have free will. You know what is at the edge of evil? Revelation and God's law. That's what the barrier is. If you don't like evil, then obey God's law, right? And you'll still have hardships, by the way. You just won't have this terrible kind of evil where someone imposes themselves and makes everyone else's life miserable. But while you still have evil, pain, you'll still have pain. You didn't change that you're having pain. You're having pain in that you can still get sick. You still have to die. You're still going to get old. You're still going to have aches and pains. All the pain is the summary of it is why Muslims don't have an issue with this problem. We don't have a problem of evil is because we believe that Allah Ta'ala has the right, not only the right, he benefits us through painful experiences. God has the right to inflict is not the right word, to pour some pain on us. That's how simple it is. In the same way that a surgeon has the right to cause you pain. He's not causing you pain as an end, so that's not even a good way to put it, because that makes it sound like he's torturing you for fun. The surgeon does not cause you pain for fun. A surgeon causes you pain on the way to some great end result. Likewise, your parents cause you pain. I mean, every time one of our kids says, "Can I do this?" and I say, "No, you got to study for your exams." That's pain. Every time he says, "Let me eat this," not yet. You got to eat your dinner first before you eat ice cream. So I denied him his pleasure. Nas has a beautiful definition for pain in his book. He says it's the denial of our desires. Evil, sorry. Nas has a great definition of evil in his book. He says it's the denial of our desires in a manner that does not contribute to our flourishing. That's the definition of evil that Nas puts forth. The purely Shar'i definition of evil is disobedience without repentance. But think about this. The moment we say that it's the denial of your heart's desires without the fruition of yourself, without the self-benefit, without the flourishing of yourself, it's a great definition of evil. Because now the believer never suffers evil after that. Every single pain that we suffer from is for us. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Ajaban li amri al-mu'min." It's amazing, the affair of the believers. Kulluhu khair. All of it's good. In asabahu khairun, hamidallah. If good happens, he thanks Allah. When asabahu sharran, and if evil comes to him, sabr. He has patience. Well, how is patience? Patience is one of the greatest virtues you could have. Not patience on people's trials and tribulations. Once you have patience, you can literally almost achieve anything. Because anything is achievable with patience. Patience in waiting and patience in handling pain. Right now, me and you and everyone in this room we can achieve perfect physical fitness. Not only perfect, you will be amazing, in amazing shape and amazing looking, if you have the patience, if you can handle the hunger, if you can handle the resistance of the push-ups and the sit-ups. That's all pretty much you need, in my opinion. And if people want to lift weights, that's up to them. And if you can wait long enough, that's literally it. That is literally all it takes. You're going to exercise your 5 muscle groups. You're going to exercise you're going to do push-ups, 3 different kinds. Near, al-awsat, wal-akbar, like these books, right? The small one, the medium one, and the big one. What's the Sanusi's 3 books, right? Huh? Yeah, al-asghar, al-kubra, yeah, al-wusta. So you're going to do a close push-up, a medium push-up, and a wide push-up. All right, all that's under push-ups. You're then going to do sit-ups or planks. You're then going to do squats. You're then going to do calf raises. And then as you get better, you get a book bag, you throw some weights in it. You do the push-ups with the weights. You do the sit-ups with a weight. It takes you nothing. It's just a weight that you have on the side in your house. And then you got to learn to not eat so late in the night. Don't eat a lot. Keep that routine for 3 years. You will be in amazing shape. Problem is people don't have patience. People have a goal. They get distracted from their goal. Got to have patience. Every one of us can be a hafiz of Quran. It may take you 10 years, but you will be a hafiz of Quran. 600 pages of the Quran divided by 10, 60. 60 divided by 300. 1 page every 5 days. 1 page every 5 days for 10 years. You'll be a hafiz of Quran. Without really doing anything. Without enrolling in a school. So let's say the average age of the listener out there is 28. By 38, you're a hafiz on nothing except sabr. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, when you get a tribulation, when you get something good, you say, alhamdulillah. When you get a tribulation, you have patience. Patience is the both waiting and the ability to handle pain. Moderate amount of pain. Because everything is pain. Even hifd, it's the pain of shutting the TV off, shutting the phone off, and doing hifd and repeating the page, etc. Allah is Al-Qawi, Al-Mateen. Al-Mateen is that who can bear and handle. Right? That, what does it mean for Allah? It means He creates that which is Mateen. Certain things can be pounded away at and will not break. That's why the Sayf al-Muhannad is a combination of metal and gold. Iron and gold. And then iron again. That's the Indian sword that we always talk about, al-Muhannad. It's iron and gold. Back and forth. Iron and gold. So that when you, if it's all iron, it's brittle. It hurts when you hit, but when it gets hit, it'll break. If it's gold, it won't hurt so much when you hit, but then when you take a hit, it'll bend because gold can bend. Golds can bend. Yeah. Let me leave this message real quick. Okay. Very good. Thank you. So you see that when you reject God because of evil, you've done nothing. And evil, the only reason is that you don't understand why. You don't understand why the pain is happening. And that's what children go through too. But because children see the good and the bad of their parents, they just end up trusting them. And that's really, you're getting trained from childhood. You're getting trained from childhood to experience pain. This is why I'm a proponent of serious parenting and fearless, courageous parenting in the truth. And that's not the only route that you go with kids. But think about this. If you are too soft with your kid, life itself will not be soft like you. You can't just let them have everything, never face them and say, look me in the eye, stop doing this, stop doing this, stop doing that. If you don't have those moments, you're not training them well for life. And then as soon as something bad happens, they don't know how to deal with it. But if you're actually a little bit more strict, you're not too strict to drive the kid crazy and the kid will run away from home. But when you're tough in that manner, and when there's something wrong, you just say, listen to me, I'm going to say this once, and that's the end of it. And it's like pretty scary, right? He's going to go on in life. No one else is going to talk to him like that, right? Everything will be less than that. Every hardship in the world will be far less than that. So you trained him well, didn't you? Maybe they're like, okay, they may have some feelings towards you at that moment, but all you need to do is always go back to rahmah and karam, as Allah does with us. One bad thing happens, 999 good things happen in a row. Like that's most people's experience in life. I got one bad day out of 90 days, out of 100 days. That's how Allah is. So that confirms us. Allah's taking care of me. I'm okay. Everything is fine. I'm in good hands. When something bad happens, there is a reason for it. So that trust develops. And that's why in the best form of parenting, it requires a lot of time to be able to create the pattern, right? You need to, when you go on these phones, on these apps, you need to click for a while, watch a bunch of videos for the algorithm to learn what you like. In the same manner, when you're a parent, you need to be with your kid a lot so they truly know you and your character and your intentions inside out. So the moment either A, you have to do something that's hard for them, they know it's coming from a good place, or B, you actually have a bad day and you as a parent do something wrong, and parents can do bad things to their kids. From time to time, they get upset, they have a bad day, they take it out on their kids. It happens. Maybe it happens 0.1% of the time, or maybe some people more than that, depending how stressed out they are and how disciplined their nafs is. The kid at least knows he's just having a bad day. They know this, right? By the pattern of behavior. That's not his normal behavior. It doesn't take a statistician. Just a simple matter of common sense. Now, someone's asking, what about for daughters? Yeah, probably a bit less. But girls, they do have some nonsense too, and silliness that knows no bounds. A dad will rein it in a little bit, enough this silliness. Then she's going to go on and be a respectable person, a respectable wife. If you just let the silliness go on, enough with this. Stop being so silly. All right? There are limits here. And here's the thing, the beauty of it, no matter how you are, just the fact that you're a male and you're in the presence of your, let's say it's a daughter, now she knows what men are like. She has an idea of where the tolerance level is. Remember when I said earlier, a couple podcasts back, I said that it's really good every once in a while to not have patience when it's not necessary. Like if a kid's being silly and he's testing my patience and I just had enough and I just want quiet. I want peace and quiet. I don't want to hear noise. And I just say enough, stop, cut it out and be quiet. And you start thinking, well, is that the merciful way? Is it the generous way? No, I'll tell you what that is. That's a very good thing to do every once in a while, is because it gives them information at what regular people get sick of. What is the volume level that people outside the house who don't care about me? That's why sometimes it's good for the parent to think of himself. All right, stop talking so much. Is that nice? Maybe it's not nice, but it's very informative. That kid now has a piece of information that's very important. The rest of society is not going to be so nice to you. So he needs that information. All right, I get now what people's buttons are. And I guarantee you there are people who do not know when enough is enough. The reason is they must have been only with somebody who just tolerates and tolerates and tolerates and tolerates. They were never with somebody who their patience is enough and they say it. But it's important to say it. It gives them information on what is the end. What's the limit? You have something to say, Omar?
No question. So do you think like fathers raising daughters, should they like expose them to the world of men, like oftentimes? Or like, because it seems like one of the major problems with just women and men today is like a lot of women don't realize what the world of men looks like. Yeah. Right? So it's kind of like fantasizing in their head. That's why feminism like exists, right? Because they think the world of men is like all, fairy tales and amazing. But that's not really how it is. And it seems like from what I've seen in like my own experience is that a lot of women that are very deluded are those that have not actually seen what it's like to be a man because they don't have brothers, for example. So do you think that's like a strategy that fathers should use? Is like, obviously you want to be soft with your daughters compared to the son.
I think they're going to see
be exposed to these things, like
they're going to be exposed to when the dad has friends in the house. They're going to see that, and every once in a while they're going to watch their dad hang out with the other guys. Every once in a while they're going to see that, and so they're not living in a fantasy. There was one time a guy, he got married, and it looked all fine and good, but then I asked him, "What is the status of who you're marrying?" And he said, "It's the mom only. It's a girl and the mom." I'm like, "No dad? No. No uncle? No. No grandfather? No. No brothers? No." I was like, "Good luck." Right? Because where is the reference point? Where is the reference point? Like, where's the reference point of how this gender acts? Okay, guys in school, I don't think that counts. Maybe it does, depending how much she interacted with them.
Yeah, because I look at like someone like my mom, for example, who had many brothers, and I compare it to someone like, you know, maybe some Muslim sister that was born here and she doesn't have brothers or something like that. Yeah. It's a completely different world, right? Not just because of the generational difference, but since there were bigger families in the past and stuff. My mom knows what it's like to be a man, and she's like very happy being a housewife. She knows that like, men do this and I do this, right? Like, I
love taking my daughters with me. I like taking my kids with me when they have a day off. Just spend the whole day with me. I like it just for the sake of it, right? Just like to be around them. But they get to see what the day is like, right? And they get to see what is a day like. Well, like when the dad steps out of the house, what's his day like? You know, what is he doing all day? You know, I was wondering about why in divorce are the laws distinct between men and women, husband and wife? If we're in a society that's moving to equality, so when there's a divorce, why would anyone take anything? Just take what's in your account, split what's in the family account, and that's it, right? Why is there even a difference? Because you know that most in the non-Islamic world, non-Muslim community, they don't marry. There's no point for them to marry, because the moment he marries, if she wants to get out, she takes half his stuff and he gets pretty much maybe nothing. Well, if we're in a society where we're going towards equality, why does that rule still exist in the courts? There's a lot of things that are inconsistent. There are a lot of things that are unfathomable and will never happen. If truly genders are equal, can you have an all-female prison guard unit in a male prison? Could you imagine that? Just imagine that for a minute as a thought experiment. I mean, now we have a first woman hockey coach, all right? Women basketball referees, women, I don't know, assistant coach in football or something. Okay, well, that's all entertainment. How about in real life? You got a prison, the ward, all the guards, everyone female. That's not going to work. That is not going to work, right?
The entire concept of feminism, like this is such an important point, is the entire premise of it is the over-glorification of the world of men. That's pretty much all it is.
You're 100% right. It is centered around the world of men. Why would you want to be like that gender so much? My position is this. I'm traditional but flexible, right? I know the world's changing and you have to move with it, but still within the same tradition. Like you have a tree, the trunk never changes. Allah created a man and woman in a different way. Cannot tell me they're the same. No one will ever buy that. They created in a different way. There's certain things that are found in 99% of each gender, right? The desire to protect, the desire to nurture, that's not changing ever. Now you have the top of the tree. A tree, as we're seeing in these storms, has to be flexible. And as you're living in the more modern your time, the more chaotic really the time is, the more flexible you need to be. Just like a hurricane. We're living in a hurricane today, a moral hurricane, or the norms are changing every day. So you need to be more flexible, but you need to be grounded. And that's the philosophy I believe in. You just suspended someone. What did he do? He's trying to be funny. So that's personally what I believe in. It's traditional, but it's flexible. He's got to be flexible. But he has to also be traditional. The way that Allah created males and females, and he in the Sharia gave them certain obligations upon both sides and certain expectations, and then certain fitri. It's by the fitra. Their human nature wants to do certain things. There's no guy who has the fitra to take care of an infant, but he has the fitra to defend his wife if someone looks at her, talks at her, something like that. I remember some guys need coaching, I'm telling you, because they have been so brainwashed that the fitra is bad when it comes to male desires. For example, I asked one time, you're sitting at a restaurant and a guy flicks food at your wife. You turn around, the guy looks at you straight in the eye and says, yeah, I did it. What do? You know what? Like 99% of the guys would say, there's a fight right there. Even if I'm not winning, I got to put up the fight. at least in front of my wife, I got to put up a fight, even if I don't want to. You know what this guy said? He said, I wouldn't really do anything because it would be bad for dawah. Like, how bad have you been completely effaced? Why don't you trust your gut? Trust your gut and go with the fitrah. If not, take it by transmitted from people with more experience than you. That has to be a fight right then and there. Not thought about, not with words. He used actions. Actions are going to be repelled with actions, not with words. And I've done it too. I've done that, so I'm very proud of it. I had 3 fights. 1 ended up physical. 2, second one was just, I just walked in their direction. They went the other way. The third one, it was 1-on-4 in Baltimore, right? In Baltimore, right? On one of those nice boardwalks in Maryland, like where by the Orioles Stadium and stuff. It's a gorgeous area. Everyone goes there for vacation. And these 3 guys made a comment. So I started walking their direction, not having a clue what's going to go on. It's 1-on-3, right? 4 guys. I started walking their direction, 1-on-4. I had no clue, but I knew I had to do something, right? All the kids were little. I couldn't take Ayub with me. But ultimately, at the end of it, luckily some other guys intervened. But I noticed I'm walking towards them. They're walking away because they know they did something wrong. Although there's no match here. It's 4 guys and 1, right? I'm walking towards them. They're talking. They're yelling, right? And I'm just walking towards them, but they're also going backwards. It's like they know they don't want to pick this fight because they were in the wrong, right? Because of what they said. Then, luckily, they ended up walking into a restaurant. And then the restaurant manager, they were all white. The restaurant manager was black. I'm like, okay, I'm good, right? Because I know he's going to side with me. And he did, right? And he did. And the restaurant manager got in their face, says, what are you doing, right? You're not be assaulting our customers here and all that. Even though I wasn't even a customer. He thought I was a customer, right? Point being, this is how it has to be. And it is, whether you like it or not, you don't have to like it. No one is born into these awkward situations. But the male nervous system must adapt to it. The male nervous system, you must swallow it and force it on yourself. Okay? You must force it on yourself. Even physically, you may lose these fights. You're not going to act like a tough guy, like you're going to go and beat these guys up. And even this one is not going to happen. This one is going to be bad. But it has to be done. And that's honestly one of the things that need to be talked about. It needs to be talked about how to be in those situations. Because you know those situations, you want to look at it, it's the right thing to do. Your fitrah says you should do it. Your book says she could do it. But let me give you another, practical thing about it. You basically will be king for the next year, right? As long as that thing is remembered. Like, you did your job. You actually did it. It's not just protector in name. You actually did it, right? You're going to be rewarded very well in life when you behave like that.
I got a business idea.
You got a business idea? Oh, yeah. You go hire some goons, right? I'm telling you, listen, if you're a young man and you just got married, go find some goons, give them $50 each, and have them come pick on your family, and you chase them away.
A lot of wives
tell them that's the job, right? Put a mask on if you're worried, right? And have a guy come and shake your wife's bag. Right?
Listen, I'll run, take your wife's bag.
Exactly. And then
you pay me after.
and then run after the guy, right? Tackle him, give him some, punch him in his back a little bit, it doesn't really hurt. And then the guy runs away. And you start screaming at him and yell, don't you ever come back here, right? All of a sudden you're going to be the king, right?
That happens for real.
I know when it happens for real, though.
This is the offshoot of starboard.
I personally hold to the fact that a man has to do a lot of things that he does not want to do, that he hates to do. And a woman should never be asked to do those things. That's our religion. That's what I said, traditional, right? That's our religion. If you look at our law, we can deduce back, or we can figure it out backwards. When we figure it out backwards, when the Sharia says She's born into a house. She doesn't have to worry about anything. Her dad takes care of her. Then she goes to her husband's house. From there to her husband's house, she doesn't have to worry about anything. So there, her Sharia does not want her carrying these heavy burdens. Now, she may end up carrying heavy burdens in life. Raising kids is a heavy burden. Being a Muslim is a heavy burden. Staying married is a heavy burden. A lot of heavy burdens, but certain burdens, no. The burden to earn money, the burden to protect my body, the burden to protect my kids physically, that's not there, right? That is not something that Sharia puts upon them. This is exactly why the Prophet ﷺ said that failed will be a people. What is the exact wording? وَلَّوْ أَمْرَهُمْ إِمْرَأَةً. What is the, find me the exact wording. Allah does not give victory to a people who put their affairs on the back of a woman. Yeah, think about that. وَلَّوْ أَمْرَهُمْ. They took their affair, their obligation, and put it on a woman's back. That is in what? In earning and protecting. Not in other things, right? If it doesn't entail earning and protecting, things that have risk, things that have hardship, right? Ruling a nation, we got to go to war. Right? Why are you putting that on her back? Especially back in the old days. Today, it's just like, you're not going to actually be in the war, right? But you still have to make the decision. You still have to rule. You still have to lead. So where there's earning, where there's protection. Could you imagine back in the old day, a tribe comes out and the leader has got to be in the face of the army, right? You're going to put up a woman. Okay, whose wife are you putting up? That's someone's wife. Whose mom are you putting up? And that husband's accepting it? In his own house, if a thief were to come in, he goes, not her, in the house. How about the nation? Like, how does it make any sense? How does it make any sense where it comes to earning and protecting? So that's why I said those are the traditional ways. Traditional is not even the right word. That's the Sharia. That's it. But it's got to also be flexible too. Where we're in our world these days, life is not going to be like what it was for the grandparents. I'm reading here some of these comments. There's an exact sketch by Matt Robb and Doe about this. A fake thief. Is it better for a woman who only has sisters to marry a man who only has sisters? I wouldn't go that route because you're narrowing something that's already difficult. I was recently told by somebody that Al-Habib Omar bin Hafid had actually encouraged matrimonial events as long as they're done within certain parameters, and because he sees also and realizes the degree of the fitna, the degree of this institution that the whole community rests upon needs work. It needs attention. Like fiqh will not develop in a community unless you have an institution that focuses on it, right? Let me get the exact hadith. You know, the Ahnaf limit that hadith to the Khilafah only. لن يفلح قوم ولوا أمرهم امرأة. A group of men, a group of people will not succeed when they put the obligations that Allah put upon them onto a woman. Thief comes at the door, husband, wife, 4 kids are sitting there. What do you do? Wife, go, you get it. I got the last thief. That doesn't work like that, right? So if that's not the case in the home, is it lawful for a man to say, I earned the last 10 years, I'm going to take a break, I'm going to relax, I'm going to, not work, I'm going to follow my hobbies. You work for the next 10 years and earn for our family. Is it lawful in Islam? No. So it's earning and it's protecting. It's not lawful in a home. Is it lawful in anything bigger than a home? That's the purpose of this hadith. I got to find this thing where Al-Habib Omar had mentioned this, that he's encouraging this kind of matrimonial services because people really need help. The whole institution needs help. And ultimately, this is going to be your greatest source of happiness, your greatest connection with human beings. Everything will be better when this element of your life is better. And Unusa, our Maliki fiqh teacher, I mean, I've never met him, but I always listen to his Aqrab al-Masarik lectures. Sheikh Abdul Hamid al-Mubarak, he says, now look at all social movements from a couple of lenses. And one of those lenses is, does it increase unusa? Does it increase women never getting married? Does it increase that? Is that the end result? He said that's something that's harmful then. If that's the result. And keep in mind, Shaytan does not go and give you a bottle of poison to drink. He'll give you an entire platter of food. Chicken, salad, soup, then there's apple pie. Somewhere in this platter, somewhere in this table, there's going to be a little poison. You're going to eat the whole thing and not feel anything. So you're going to say it's fine. And you eat it again and again and again until the poison rises in your system, that by the time you detect it, it's too late. That's how Iblis works. That's how Shaytan works. Shaytan has been around for way longer than me and you. He's been around for thousands of years. That's why the Prophet ﷺ says Shaytan is pleased to get a righteous person to move off the right track, even the amount of an ant's footstep. The footstep of an ant. Why? Because he knows all he has to do is repeat that another 1,000 times and you're way off. Right? You are way off. Let's look at Minna AJ. She says fiqonomics. Indeed, and most of them think that while slaving away for some greedy CEO, they are free and independent. And this is coming from a working woman. That's where we're saying traditional but flexible. It's that working women, it's not all, I don't think it's a complete black and white, right? Just don't work at all. Well, no, there's room for this. There is room for that. But are there values there? Are the beliefs there? Are the right values and beliefs there where it's faith, family, and then it's finances? That's the order that it has to go in. I'm telling you, this stuff needs work and to be talked about so much, or else we're going to end up being just like the rest of Europe, where their population declining, masajid being empty. Assalamu alaikum. What's the most famous Maliki fatwa website? Unfortunately, we are way behind on the internet, and I would go to no, there's one even stronger than that. It's Sheikh what is he called? Faqih Nafsak. Faqih Nafsak. Try that website. FAQIHNAFSAK. And you can now get this website translated into different languages. Faqih Nafsak is the website. It's in various languages, and see if your questions are there. There are tons of. There's an English, Espanol, Francés, Netherlands, different languages. But go to that website and learn. Faqih Nafsak. It's out of Saudi Arabia. Al-Ahsa.
Oh, so we never got to address this, but you know how we had this one short kind of blow up about careerism, and a lot of people in the comments that were like complaining, oh, like, are we not supposed to work and things like that? But there's a difference between careerism and having a career, right?
Correct.
So I just wanted to.
There is a big difference between careerism and having a career, just like there's a big difference between science and scientism. Scientism is a belief system that the truth is really only accessible through demonstrative knowledge. Observable sensory perception, demonstrative knowledge. That's a belief system that's flawed. Science is the access of demonstrable knowledge, getting extracting truth from demonstration, which is science, right? But it's not a philosophy. There's a difference between scientism and science. Truth comes from demonstration, which is science, from transmission, and from reason. So likewise, there's a big difference between careerism and having a career. Men are also, they got issues with careerism too, probably as much as women or more. Like more men abandon their kids for careerism even than women, right? So wherever you're going to have a good family, you're going to need two people. Both of them have to believe this is an obligation. No matter how busy they are, if they have that belief, they'll make it work, right? And here it is. In this economy, people need two people to work. That's not an issue, right? The issue is the belief about it. It's the belief. And that's why Omar brings up that great point of careerism versus having a career, which is why I set out earlier, you have the analogy of the tree. Certain thawabit never change. The priorities never change, but you have to be flexible with the time that you live in. And not only the time, the situation. People may be in a situation even where the guy earns less than the woman. We can't put those people down. It's a situation. It happened. What can he do, right? He may be the best husband, the best dad, and an imam even. That's what he went into. And that earned him imama with the community. She went into the medical field. So she makes more money. It could happen. And we shouldn't put that down. It's the beliefs that matter. The belief. Is he asking her to do that? Is he saying you go and earn everything? Now, are you going to tell me, okay, but she may end up resenting him? That's different, but that can be fixed. But the philosophy is what matters. Is he saying go and put forth half the money? Go and put forth all the money. Do you know that there was a woman one time? She was a real estate agent. And we're sitting there. We got delayed. We're driving around with her to look at houses. And she goes to us. We started chit-chatting about life because we were waiting for this other realtor to show up to show us the house. We're sitting there in the car. And she says, man, I wish I could retire. And she asks us, what do you do? And at the time, my wife was staying home with 2 kids. And I was working. You know, these small families, they hardly have any expenses, right? You make your kids happy with $5, bag of M&Ms, and that's it. Life was so simple. So she said, I wish I could do that, right? She said, it's been, from the beginning of our marriage, everything is split 50-50. Even, listen to this, the birthday card. When my husband buys me a birthday card, he puts the receipt there. 50-50. How insane is that? How insane is that? So it's the belief that we have to talk about. Dylan says, can you do stories of the wali or stories of the awliya on Badius Zaman Saeed Nursi? We'll have to bring Naz for that. Should the national anthem be sung and when a high-ranking person or teacher enters the classroom, we stand up? Is that sinful? No, it's urf. It's okay. The Prophet ﷺ one time when Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, I believe it was, either Sa'd ibn Mu'adh or Sa'd ibn Ubadah entered, he told his people, قُومُوا لِسَيِّدِكُمْ. One time, Hassan bin Thabit stood up for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet said, sit down. He said, I have to stand up when I see such beauty. And the Prophet let it go. Yeah. What are the other questions on the marriage stuff that we just talked about? Tradition is beautiful when it is done right. And it takes a mature community. Yes, it takes us to understand what is it that we can never let go of and what is it what we could be flexible on. And I'm telling you, it's something that's going to be done after also consulting and looking at how other shuyukh live and how other people of knowledge live. And you see that there ends up being a middle ground. Here's another question. My dad taught me how to fight, says the last corner, and grew up with 3 big brothers. At school, I was not afraid to fight back with boys. Should it be avoided for girls and try to escape if possible? Yeah, I don't think that girls should. I personally don't see the benefit in it. Physically fighting, I don't see the benefit in that. I don't think that that's great. But a boy has to know how to fight, if not fight, at least not run away from a fight. I think that would be a disaster.
Self-defense is one thing, but actually fighting, like...
Yeah, I don't think I don't think the Sharia, the way I see it, it does not call, and the way that Allah created things, for women to be hardened on the outside through fighting. Why else did He put men in their, did Allah put men in their lives? A man, when he goes and he gets hardened through a fight, I think he feels great about himself, right? It's just in the fitrah. And do you want a woman who knows how to fight, right? Yeah, where's she learning the fighting from? Is there an absentee dad? Is there an absentee brother? There's an absentee male there? Or you're saying like physically she's learning from a male trainer? That's another problem. But why is she fighting in the first place? Has her dad put her in a vulnerable situation?
I mean, learning self-defense, I guess, like someone would answer, like respond to.
Learning self-defense is like a sport.
Yeah,
it's like a sport. But you don't put someone in the situation. Why is it forbidden for a Muslim woman to be a soldier in the army? Because it's going to happen by one of two things. It's going to happen by a dad or a husband putting his wife in the face of an enemy. It's not lawful for you to do. Enemy of the nation or enemy inside the nation, it's not lawful for you to do. Or it's going to happen by the Khalifa overriding the man and saying, I want your wife as a soldier. That's unlawful too. So that's why it's not permitted.
When a lot of women say, like, I fight men and stuff, you're not really fighting men. Like, you haven't actually fought a guy.
Yeah.
Like, I think I grew up with a lot of sisters, right? So a lot of women don't realize that men are always holding back against women. And when you actually see what it's like to fight a man, like, a lot of people don't like to hear that, but let's just be honest. Like,
That's why I said the example, an all-male prison. Let's see it. Could you fathom an all-female guard, right? It's going to be mayhem within 24 hours. Victoria saying sexual assault is real. You can't change society. There will be times where a woman has to move and travel without a male. That's all true. That's where we're saying flexibility. That's a fact, right? It can happen very easily. You can imagine a Muslim woman with no men around her. What is she going to do? She's better have some pepper spray at the very least. But that's why we're saying there has to be flexibility. When a woman enters Islam, she's got no Muslim relatives around her. That's just an example. How many examples are there where life takes a different course and all of a sudden you have a woman, she's a single mother taking care of kids. She clearly has to work and fend for herself. So those things have to be taken into account for it. All the reason I'm saying this is because sometimes people take one sliver of something and expand it as if we're not cognizant of all the different scenarios that could happen. And also, though people of those scenarios may feel that we're not recognizing their plight, which is totally legitimate to them, but we have to recognize them so that we get the full picture of this. Mujtaba says BJJ for women in moderation so it doesn't affect testosterone. All right, so here's someone says, Bengal verse 2 says, my mother wants me to go abroad for study alone and does not want to get married. When I try to make her understand that being an unmarried girl is not permissible for me, she does not listen. So for Bengal, your mom is, if you're living only with your mom and she doesn't want you to get married and there's no dad, then you can go to another male relative or go to the imam to be your wali and to conduct your marriage, because it's not lawful for her also to deprive you of marriage. That's not lawful. That's not right. You got to know your rights in Islam, and culture sometimes, if not always, oppresses those things.
I have something. So you probably brought this up before, but I've kind of been reading some of these questions, and I wanted to bring up, and this is why we study logic, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it seems like a lot of people, and this is kind of the sign of intelligence as well, a person's intelligence, is when you're able to distinguish between a general proposition and a universal proposition.
Thank you.
So a lot of the issues that like people bring up, especially like I see in the comments, and I think this is important for everyone to realize, is, I'll bring an example, right? So let's say Shadee says, humans have 2 hands. And someone comes and complains, no, but look, my uncle has one hand.
hand.
He missed
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
Okay, but you have to understand the difference between a general proposition and a universal.
Exactly.
So when he says certain things, when Dr. Shadee, like when you guys hear him say certain things, you have to be able to distinguish between a general proposition, right, versus something that's universal that doesn't take exceptions, right? So when, like, I see this all the time. People come and say, oh, well, this is the case. Oh, look, but this woman is a boxer and she's strong. Okay, but she's the exception that proves the rule.
Exactly.
Right? So
there's kulliyat, and then there's umum.
Yeah. Muhmal and kulli. You have qadiyya muhmala and kulliya.
The kulliya is actually universal, right? Actually universal. Everyone alive's heart is beating. That's a universal. It's absolutely 100%. It's a universal. Then there's the muhmala. Muhmala is a general ruling. Just generally speaking, human beings walk on 2 feet. Of course, we're going to have somebody who is born without feet, or her feet got shot off, or is in a wheelchair. But generally speaking, that's what we're saying.
So I just wanted to bring that up because, like, there's so many wasted comments I think people put where it's like all the time they're like, oh, this exists, this is the, we have this case. Okay, but you guys need to understand there's a general ruling or a general proposition and universal.
I'm saying we gotta go back to look at what the Prophet taught us about these things and stick to them before society, like Hurricane Milton, just wipes us off the map. And the trends of today, American society is toxic for your own spirituality, and it's toxic for your family. It may be good for your pocketbook. That's true. You can make a lot of money in America, but it's toxic for your family. Everything. Omar is getting some love from behind the camera. Dr. Dallas, McCurry Swag. It's Omar. They love Omar. Hey, Dr. Dallas, you have sisters? Dr. Dollars, sorry. You got sisters? We need to get him married. Khalas, next year you're graduating, right? Is it Omar? You're a senior this year, right? You're graduating and you're gonna be working next year, right? You're gonna be ITing next year? Computer science, okay. Okay. You're gonna be coding then next year, right? Coding from home? Does that mean that in the summertime, is this going to be your finale? And we're going to have to scoop up Zabe or something?
Inshallah, I'll be here.
Okay. Because, these coding guys, do they actually work? These guys that are on laptops all the time, do they work?
Chat right now, ask this guy.
Zog is here.
Facebook dude.
Meta, working for Meta. Let's keep looking at... Let's take a look at this... Oh, this is too long. I wanted to read this post, but it's too long. All right, you want to do a rapid fire QA now?
I think we should rename the stream
to what?
What do you think? We didn't talk about atheism.
Yeah, we only talked about atheism for like 2 seconds. But we did talk about, we did make mention of the fallacy. The atheist fallacy, that abandoning God because bad things happen, it does not change your life. Bad things will still happen. And in fact, worse things will still happen. Right? And the solution for that, for us, is very simple. God has the right, and he improves us through pain. That's how we look at it. We, as a believer, as a Muslim, someone submitted to Allah, this is how we look at it. Allah Ta'ala improves us through painful things that happen to us. And he stops us from doing bad things through pain. And he may punish us through pain. So, what is the issue here? There's literally no issue. RR says, well, first of all, John is asking about Jummah. I'll be at Jummah next week, tomorrow, but I may not give the khutbah. We may have a guest khatib because Miftah Institute is in town. They're going to be doing they have a whole bunch of, they got a big event lined up, and they have shuyukh. I don't want to say a bunch of shuyukh because that's not polite. They have a number of imams in town, and we're going to be hosting some of them. Salam from the Maldives. Please visit. Yeah, as long as you cover the tab. Maldives, you know how expensive honeymoons in the Maldives are? My friend went on a honeymoon in the Maldives and regretted it. Maldives is the prettiest island in the world right now. You've been there?
Yeah. One of my boys he was at the UN.
Yeah?
He's foreign minister, one of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Minister of Foreign Affairs at the UN, and he took you there. He invited you there. Maldives is one of the prettiest islands in the world, if not the prettiest, next to Hawaii. But it's also you're going to pay a pretty penny as well. Yeah, let's do Q&A. Let's go to RR says, yesterday you asked, you talk about Isal al-Thawab. What is Isal al-Thawab? Isal al-Thawab is that you do a good deed and you pray to Allah to donate the reward of that good deed to somebody else. So you recite Surah Yasin, for example, or you give charity to the poor, for example. And before or after, doesn't matter. That thawab means the reward, is yours. Now you may intend it to somebody else. Do you have to make the intention beforehand? No, you don't. Just like when I earn money, I have a gig, I earn money. I don't have to make the intention of how I'm going to use this money, right? After I get the check, I said, okay, I'll give some to you. So before or after you do the deed, you say, oh Allah, I have donated the reward of this recitation or this charity to so-and-so. Mufti Azimuddin said that he has direct experience that it softens people's hearts, and he's seen it himself. He had two students, two brothers, who their parents didn't want them studying at Dar es Salaam in Chicago. So he said, do Isal al-Thawab for them. And he did. They did. Recited Surah Yasin, Surah Ar-Rahman, and then over time, period of time, their hearts softened. Right? And they accepted it. SMM is from Sweden. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. Can you explain the station of al-fana in the spiritual journey? Not properly, because you would have to been through that experience, but I could just tell you the definition of fana is that someone is so engulfed, or their attention, their heart is so attached to something that's all they see. How to address when little boy hits little girl siblings. Oh, you're going to be in trouble. Can't do that. You're going to be in trouble. Go to timeout. Go to the corner. Put your head in the corner. Put your face in the corner. Did you people still do timeout? You got to do timeout. You go put your face in the corner. Right. Qisas is optional, maybe not. But and then you have to apologize and give your sister a hug. You know, the regular parenting stuff. The usual stuff.
Asking related to this, do you still get reward if you do Isal al-Thawab?
You get rewarded 100%. 100%. All right, I'm going to start with the rapid fire. Go ahead.
Okay. That's a cheat code. You just get other people rewarded.
That's true.
And get rewarded.
Yeah,
that's
true.
Let me scroll up, actually. We had a super chat. I don't know if you read this. Actually, no, you already read this. Yeah. Okay. Sheikh, what is the position of the Maliki Madhab on did the Prophet ﷺ see Allah on the Mi'raj?
لا الله سبحانه وتعالى لا يرى في هذه الدنيا إنما يرى في الآخرة. Allah Ta'ala is seen in the next life, not in this life.
Do you think Muslim couples should get legally married, particularly in traditional families?
Yes. You should get legally married because that's how you can ensure your rights that way. And it's binding in masajid. They don't do weddings in masajid without having to be civilly certified. Next question.
What is the status of a non-Muslim in the afterlife who was on a journey to learn Islam, left his old faith, and was in the process of seeking guidance with a pure heart, but he died suddenly?
Repeat the question again, please.
So what is the status, basically like a non-Muslim, what is their status in the afterlife? they were on a journey to learning Islam, and they left their old faith, and they were in the process of seeking guidance with a pure heart, I guess, intention.
And
but
what
then
happened?
They died during that, like while they were searching.
Searching for the truth. We see Allahu A'lam about that, to be honest with you. We leave those matters to Allah, but they would not be buried with the they won't be buried with the Muslims. No.
Okay. What is your position on ziyarah? Are you looking at the Prophet ﷺ's hair?
First of all, when people say they have the Prophet's hair, like, what's the proof of that? I'm sure many people get very skeptical about that. But I mean, what is the loss? Even if you were to believe it, this is the Prophet's hair. That's a permissible belief. If you believe that the source is sound, is it an obligatory belief? I don't think we can ever say it's wajib to believe that that specific relic is from the Prophet ﷺ. It's not wajib to believe that. It would probably be forbidden to call someone a liar, right? And whether you looking at a hair is permitted, right? Looking at a hair is permitted. So at the very least, you're doing something permitted.
Okay, next question is, any plans for Scotland?
Scotland, actually, probably the runner-up for this this spring. You know, this spring international trip I always do is Guyana. That's the runner-up. That's not the runner-up. In the lead right now, it's Guyana. Yeah, for the summer trip, which is not really that far, but still should be interesting.
How to answer a Ghamdi supporter who answers his lack of endorsement from other scholars and authority by saying Imam Abu Hanifa didn't have this either? Is this true?
No, Abu Hanifa had so much support. Let me actually answer the question of why isn't it possible in Islam that a minority got the truth correct and the majority got the truth wrong? So the answer to that is possible in all fields of life except Islam. And that's out of belief, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we have revealed this dhikr. Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikr, and we are the ones who preserve it. Wa inna lahu lahafidhun. We are preserving it. So all of the subjects of Islam are preserved. Arabic is preserved because without Arabic you can't know the meaning of the Quran. Vocabulary is preserved because without vocabulary you wouldn't have that. All the knowledges of Islam. So Allah is preserving the truth. Well, what is the value of preserving the truth? So we can follow it, not preserve it and then cover it up with falsehood and make it 1% of the ummah. But we also have a hadith. The Prophet ﷺ was asked many times about what do we do in the end of time? He said, follow my sunnah. Who will be on it? Al-jama'ah. So the Prophet foretold that the majority will always be upon the truth. Which majority? A, scholars. The majority here is talking about scholars, is not talking about regular people. And B, across history and across the landmass of the ummah. Because obviously if I go to Iran, the majority is not on the truth. I can go to any city and the majority is astray. So when we say jama'ah, it's the historical scholarship of the ummah across the whole ummah is the jama'ah. That in this context, that's the jama'ah. Ilzam al-jama'ah, when people are upon that truth, in general, we should stick to them. All right, so what's the third hadith? The Prophet ﷺ said, Ummati la tajtami ala dalala. My ummah will not come together on a misguidance. Again, localized ummahs can do that. Otherwise, you wouldn't have sects. So the whole nation of Iran is on a whole dalala that we believe is, we know is a dalala. So what we mean by that is, again, historically, the scholars of Islam will not agree to a dalala. Simple as that.
So it looks like we got a good amount of questions.
All right, let's hear them.
So let me try to go through them. Sheikh, can you please give me advice on my sister? She disrespects my parents and seems to be going further away from Islam.
Ooh, that's rough. Omar, while we're answering these questions, can you fire up the WhatsApp pics I sent you?
Yeah.
Ooh, pizza's here from Fahd.
So next question.
Oh, about the sister, subhanAllah. Well, I think you got to try to struggle with your sibling. I think siblings will tolerate each other a little bit more than regular other people. You have to struggle with them. You don't want them to continue on this path, so you shouldn't let them as much as possible. You need to keep them in your orbit, keep them in your company.
The next question is, the comments definitely indicate marriage is a hot topic and a solution is needed. We all need that therapy because the Western culture is a trap, any mental downfall. Yeah, that's more of a comment, but.
Okay, next one.
Can you explain the station of al-fana that a wali reaches during his spiritual journey?
Oh, yeah, I talked about that already.
Oh, you mentioned that, okay.
Yeah.
Sheikh, what is your favorite surah?
Surah Alam Nashrah Laka Sadrak, because it takes hardship and transforms it into ease. And people are always in hardship, right? And so when you're in hardship, you go to Alam Nashrah.
Who's your favorite reciter?
I can't say I have one favorite reciter, to be honest. I like Muhammad Adil al-Kalbani, controversial person out of Saudi, but his recitation is pretty soothing. Huh? No, I never heard his recitation. No.
Next question is, can you elaborate the relationship between the aql, the qalb, and the hawa?
The heart is, there's a lot of different definitions of the heart, but some people say it's what carries everything, what holds everything. Your hawa is your desires, your whimsical desires. There's the shahwa, an-nafs, and there's hawa an-nafs. The shahawat have never changed since the dawn of time. Like sexual desires, desire of laziness, desire for power, all those desires have never changed and will never change. All those shahawat that all human beings have, they have benefits. You actually have to have them. Life will not continue without them. They're like electricity, gas, fire, water in your home. If you notice these things, you have to have them in your home, right? But you also have to have them tightly controlled. If you have a leak, what happens? It's a disaster. If the gas leaks, you'll be dead in a few hours. If fire gets out of control, you're in big trouble. If the electricity is out of control, you're in big trouble. So the shahawat, the desires of the nafs, the desires of the nafs are just like these vital, important things. If people didn't have sexual desires, you wouldn't have children, you wouldn't have marriage, you wouldn't have a human species. If you didn't love food, you'd die. If you didn't have a little bit of greed, you wouldn't want to go to work and make money and start businesses. So these shahawat really need to be, they need to exist, but they need to be controlled. When they're controlled, they only bring good. When they're out of control, they're all destruction. So now the hawa nafs is a different thing. Hawa is not a beneficial desire. It's whimsical. It could be lawful or unlawful, and it's not something that's static. So the trends of today are not going to be like the trends of the 1980s. Hawa is like trends of the wind. They come, they get really strong, and then they disappear. So in the 70s, everyone likes to wear bell bottoms. These are ahwa. And what are the philosophical trends of the 70s? Who knows, whatever they are. Then there are philosophical trends today. Well, there's transgenderism today that didn't exist back then. You go to the 70s, and those kids are the most corrupt hippie in the world. All free sex and drugs. But you tell him, let's dress up like a woman. Right? Or you chop your breasts off.
So is it like,
They'll be disgusted, right?
is it like the whimsical desires when someone is kind of infiltrates the natural desires?
Well, it can corrupt your natural desires, for sure.
Where you're like,
All messed up, no. But the whimsical, the hawa nafs, it never repeats itself, in a sense. It's always unique to every generation, and it doesn't have an intrinsic benefit. Like we could say sexual desire has an intrinsic benefit. It will produce more humans, right? It could be out of control and be crazy, and cause all sorts of diseases and children out of wedlock and all that. But it hasn't. The hawa nafs doesn't have an intrinsic benefit, and that's the shahwa and the hawa. Well, the aql is what keeps these in order. The aql and the heart has a role. If we define the heart as that which connects or can connect to the unseen, because through remembrance of Allah, the heart is affected, and the heart can calm the desires. Once you become conscious of Allah, your desires will be easy to control. So that's the answer to that question. I know we're supposed to be on rapid fire, but let's take a look at this picture. I told you guys we're really a couple things that Safina Society and I'm personally getting very interested in. We got to fix up we got to pay attention to the marriage situation, but we also have to take care of ourselves physically. Physical fitness is part of marriage. Your desires, it makes you better off. Probably your wife will like you a bit more, maybe, if you're physically fit, and vice versa too. So that's me, and that's Hassan, who runs Prophetic Living, and that's Mustafa B, and that's there's Hassan right there. Yeah, that's Hassan right there. And so these are the brothers that took part in the race. It wasn't a race; it was a run. I'd lie if I said that I ran the whole thing. I walked a little bit, or a lot bit. But I did do the 5K, and then there was a whole bunch of people who did it. Go to the next picture, and that's a lot of the kids who did it. That's just the children. The children had their own run, and we're gonna keep. I think we want to do that. We want to do this here. We want to do this. 114 is an organization that focuses on Hifz al-Quran and running races, or running, getting physically fit. Empirical Miracle says there are two voices coming in for some reason. There's a delay. Shayajib. Double audio. Ali Ahmed. Oh, maybe one of the other mics is on, that's why. Shajib. Ali Ahmed, your dream means exactly what you see. That's it. Rendad says, if you will major sin after marriage, should you disclose your habits before marriage? Is it worse to condemn them by not telling them, or worse to expose your sins but be fair to them? Okay, let's say a man, he's a serial womanizer. You should only marry a woman from that world. Go to the club world and marry a penitent woman from there. She'll understand. But don't come and marry the purest woman in the town that if a brother says Assalamu alaikum, she says Astaghfirullah, because you won't relate. Your little slip up is a tidal wave in her pure world. She will never understand that. So you should marry someone who has the same background as you. But I wouldn't do either of what you're saying. You're saying, should I tell her I'm sort of a recovering womanizer? Or should I hide it, and then every time we walk in the streets, some woman says, hey, how are you? I haven't heard from you in a long time. Right? You forgot your watch in my apartment. That's going to be a disaster too. So neither of those.
Should I read more?
Yes.
I was trying to fix that. It's good now. I don't know where that was from.
Okay.
It was good on my side. Someone was asking. There's a lot of questions.
All right, let me take this question while you're at it, because this is close. Does that apply to brothers dealing with pornography addiction? No, you should not say that to people, that you have this addiction. It was not. You should not say that to people if you have that. You should fight that. You have to fight that. And that doesn't have the application of the previous one, because the club scene and the sleeping around scene, they know where to find each other, right? And you can find a Muslimah who's lived that life just like you and marry her. But you don't know where the porn scene, there is no porn scene to say that I'm going to find another sister who's addicted just like me. You don't know that. So I would just fight that.
Someone's asking, does Islam tell us why this whole hell, heaven system and the test of life and everything of this was put in place, or do we prefer silence as Allah does what he pleases?
Why is the system of heaven and hell put in place? It's a gift for us.
The test of life as well.
If it's a gift. It's a gift. The only way to accept the gift is to face the test, because paradise must be earned. It's one of those it's one of those good things you cannot enjoy except by earning it. Must be earned. And the Prophet ﷺ said that this life is like a banquet. And a man goes and he invites everyone to a huge banquet for free. Whoever accepts eats from the banquet. And whoever rejects it stays hungry. So, you either accept it or you don't accept it. If you don't accept an invitation from the king, that is a crime. Right? If the king comes and says, I have a bag of $1 million for you. Nah, I'm good. I'll stay poor. That's a crime. That is a wonderful thing that's being done for you here. Same thing. God is offering you paradise, but you got to pay the price. Right? You got to go through the test. And he made the choice for you. But it looks like that. In fact, the Quran tells us that we chose to accept it. Because many people say, I didn't consent to this life. I didn't consent to being tested. Yes, you did. You just don't remember it. Okay. That's a transmitted proof. Like, we believe that. They're not going to believe that. That's not a proof that I can display to them from reason or demonstration. It's only from transmission. From the Quran says the mountains rejected it. The heavens rejected it. The earth rejected it. But the human being accepted it. The human being accepted the test. The amana. Consciousness, free will. If we pass this test, we get eternal reward. And if we fail it, you get eternal punishment. So many people are afraid to say you get eternal punishment. You disrespected the infinite God. You disrespected the infinite. The punishment will be eternal. That's the idea.
Okay, this next question. That's a lot of questions. Someone's saying, is anxiety a sign of weak iman or holding a low opinion of Allah, but having anxiety itself can push you to do excessive dua?
Repeat it again.
Is anxiety a sign of weak iman or holding a low opinion of Allah, but having anxiety itself can push you to do excessive dua?
I think anxiety should be treated medically too. I think you should not discard treatment. But you should also keep spiritual treatment, which is dhikrullah. I think anxiety has to do with your attention. Where are you directing your attention? Are you directing your attention to the bad things that are happening in life, or the uncertainties that happen in life? Or are you directing your attention to, in whose hands is my life? The Prophet ﷺ used to say, the one in whose soul is my hands, in whose hands is my soul. وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ. I'm in Allah's hands. My soul is in Allah's hands. Our affairs is in Allah's hands. So we're in good hands. If you keep thinking about that, your anxiety should go down.
Someone's asking advice to ward off feeling nihilistic.
How do you feeling nihilistic?
Yeah, I guess purposeless.
The definition of nihilism being like nothing has a point.
Yeah, like purposeless.
We are too busy as Muslims to think that life has no point, because we're being literally like driven to hell. Imagine that. You're not going to feel nihilistic anymore. You have a serious purpose now to avoid this punishment, right? And that's one of the reasons hell exists, is to cut out the choice in the matter. Like, if I have a matter that there's a wonderful banquet, or I can stay home. That's a choice, right? I could sitting on my couch. I can order out Uber Eats. I can order some Indian food, some desi food. I can order ice cream after that. Maybe if I'm really in a wacky mood, I'll order Falooda. Like a 6th grade recipe. Let's put the vermicelli with the ice cream with the Jello. 6th grader made this, right?
It's good though.
That's the problem. You start realizing that I actually like this stuff, right? But I tell them to hold the Jello. The Jello is going too far. You put vermicelli with ice cream with I don't know what. I can get all that. What's with the Jello?
I've never eaten the Jello. I don't know
It's a 3rd grade recipe. I'm telling you.
That's new because I've never eaten a Jello.
Oh, they put the Jello in. I say hold the Jello, right? I'm not that silly. I'm not in that silly of a mood. But I can sit at home and I'll have a great time. Or I can get dressed and I can go to the party. I have a choice. Allah took the choice out of it. You go to the party or some thugs are going to come and beat you up. All right, I have no choice now. I'll go to the party, right? So I think hellfire is a wonderful thing. It takes the choice out of my mind, right? So that's how we look at it. What was the other question?
I mean, we have a bunch more, but do Malikis only do one taslim in the prayer to the right?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And if there's someone to the left, you say it to the left. If there's an imam, you say it in the middle. So you had potentially 3 taslim. But assalamu alaikum removes you from the salah. That's it.
Let's see. Is it permissible to purchase a cat?
Is it permissible to purchase a cat? Maliki madhab, it's makruh to trap the cat. It's permissible. You're not going to be sinful for buying it, but the trapping of the cat is makruh to the degree that the cat suffers. If the cat's living a fine life with you, then it's only lightly discouraged. Empirical miracles. Why saying imams don't care about convert women? I don't think that imams should get so heavily involved with convert women. Other women should get involved with convert women. That's really how it should be. The sisters have to be involved in the life of the other sisters.
Okay, I'm going to try to go more down.
Rendad, which is worse? If you will choose one, are they equally as bad? I guess you would have to say to the wali, tell your daughter, I did have a little bit of a past, if you have to go that route. Let's say you're in the middle of the talks, it's too late now, we're going to get married. All right, fine. You have to disclose, I think, to the wali, I did some things in the past that was not good. That's better than ghish. Because you're penitent, right? So you're not disclosing your sins. You're disclosing that I have a past that may come up. And he may say, okay, well, I need you to get tested for STDs. That's a fair request.
If someone repented for major sins in this life, will they still face punishment in the grave?
If someone did what? Repented?
If they repented from major sins in this
La,
life.
inshallah, if you repented from major sins, inshallah, you will not be punished. What about without a wali, converts, for example? An imam can ask that for the woman. An imam should go to the other brothers in the community and see who will act as the wali. The wali is important. The wali's job is to do a background check on the husband, to protect the woman's rights in the negotiation of the mahr, to have all the tough talks that are needed in the negotiation before marriage. And then after marriage, if she has problems or she's being abused, she doesn't have a dad to go to. She has to go to that wali. Every masjid should assign that. Every masjid should assign a wali for a convert sister to have.
Are you deficient if you recite Quran daily as dhikr, but don't do other dhikr very much?
Of course not. You're not deficient if you recite Quran but not other adhkar. Of course not.
If a Muslim man wanted to get married, is he allowed to see the hair? If not, what do they do to make sure they're attracted?
What do you do to make sure you're attracted to a woman if you can't see her hair? You don't get that right. The face and the hands. The face will tell you what they look like, and the hands will tell you like a little bit of what their body is like rounded, very skinny. That's what our ulama say. The face shows the appearance, but you don't get to see the hair. Sorry to tell you that.
I mean, you mentioned this like a few times. Like we're so picky nowadays, where we can pick our
Yeah.
Starbucks latte, like what's in the milk and what's.
That's true. Yeah.
It's like it's not Build-A-Bear, right? Like if you're attracted, it's fine.
Bro, she's not seeing your chest.
Like you want her to like measure your forearm.
Exactly.
And, like,
she's not seeing the things that she's gonna enjoy from you, right?
It's either yes or no. Like all right, you don't need. It's not Build-A-Bear. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, what's Candace Owens had a post the other day. She said, "Why did our grandparents not get divorced? They're not scrolling through images of women all day." The guy gets to see one woman in his whole life.
And this is not directed to the questioner, by the way.
Yeah, that wasn't
So,
directed, but I'm just saying in general. Next question.
A friend of mine is actively engaged in zina. My question is, how do I deal with this? He keeps asking me if Sharia police is going to knock on his door if he comes to my country alone. Am I being an accomplice? What?
Guy's actively engaged in zina. He keeps asking me if Sharia police is going to knock on his door if he comes to my country. Tell him, yeah. Scare him off. Scare him off. Yeah. You can, لعن الله من أوى محدثا. Someone who's sowing corruption in the land, like sleeping around with the women of the country. You cannot let him stay at your house and guard him and protect him and help him, because he's going to go and spread this fasad all over the earth. Keep going.
Can we dedicate an umrah for our dead grandparents even though they didn't pray their salah regularly?
Say again?
Can we dedicate an umrah for our dead grandparents even if they didn't pray salah regularly?
You can, but you have to do your umrah first.
Is jinn catching like Sheikh Ben Halima popularized allowed? I don't know what that is, but
No, I don't know anything about
I
that.
think there's a lot of
Don't get involved with jinn.
Yeah,
Stay far, 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 far away from jinn.
Can we accept the belief that the Prophet ﷺ has the ability to attend certain majalis and sit on a chair over there?
That's just a question that's going to get us involved in some massive debate. I'm not going to answer
He's
that.
spamming us.
I do have a belief about that, but I'm not going to go into that. You know, someone recently said that certain questions may be asked innocently and you answer them innocently, but it sparks a fitna. And so therefore, we're not going to answer any of those masail that are just going to go back and forth between groups. And that's not an offense to anybody who's asking the question. Feel free to ask any other question. You have a question? Go ahead.
Dua or adhkar to increase rizq and barakah.
Istighfar. Istighfar increases risk. Rizq. All right, rapid fire. Keep going.
All right, someone's asking, is there a downside to marrying someone who has a lot of brothers? A lot of O's over there.
No.
The same way a woman who has mostly women are more sensitive.
No, I'm not going to. We shouldn't make that a barrier. A woman who has a lot of brothers or a guy who has a lot of sisters or vice versa, marriage is difficult as is, and nobody should add those extra barriers.
If I read Risala ibn Abi Zayd from Maliki Fiqh, is that sufficient to practice upon?
Ibn Abi Zayd?
Yeah.
You can study that, but I would recommend you try to get one of the commentaries. But that could last the person pretty much 80% of the masail that they're going to see in regular life. They clearly won't be able to answer a lot of masail, but that is enough to live regular life, yes.
What's the ideal age to marry for both genders?
The ideal age to marry? I don't think there's one set ideal, but I think from after college, you can get married, even during college, possibly. And then I would say that, but after college is the norm for us. And then I see that the brothers, for 4 years after college, after that period of time, the window starts getting very slim for them, because they're no longer in positions where they can meet people, and they're at that odd age where they're neither seeing a lot of people, and most of their friends may be getting married. It's an odd age. The window starts to close pretty quickly, if you ask me.
Shadee, would you mind doing an event in Syracuse? Is that how you pronounce it? Syracuse?
Syracuse, New York?
Syracuse, yeah. This is abroad from NJ from a long time ago. Doing well.
I'm not traveling a lot these days, to be quite honest. We have a lot of launches to do.
If a person talks in front of a grave thinking that his or her relative can hear him or her, just to share or getting relief from grief of losing them, is it okay? Like if someone, I guess he's saying like they believe that the person in the grave can hear them as a way to relieve themselves.
Oh, you're allowed to talk to someone in the grave. I know someone just said that that's shirk, but that's ridiculous. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam talked to the kuffar, challenging them, and they're gonna say maybe, oh, that was only for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to the Sahabi, I think it was Zubair ibn al-Awwam, the dead hear us just as you hear me. So the saying that is just for the Prophet is just a saying. It's a qawl. Maybe that has validity and maybe not. But maybe many said it, maybe not. But for sure that simply speaking to someone in the grave is lawful. It's not shirk. I'll tell you again what is shirk. To ask anybody what only Allah can give. Forgive all my sins. Create something from nothing. Or, number two, to believe that anybody you ask has power, has true power to create something from nothing. We don't believe in any of that, right? Those two, if you do those, that's shirk. And by the way, he didn't say to ask them anything. He said to talk to them. There is no sinfulness in doing that.
Also, I mean, this comes
let alone shirk.
The ahkam of janaiz as well, right? Like, sometimes they'll mention to recite certain things in the presence of the mayyit.
Do we not say, Assalamu alaikum dar qawmin mu'minin. Antum as-sabiqun wa nahnu al-lahiqun. Right? You say, peace be upon you, O abode of the deceased. When you go to the graveyard, that's what you say. Home of the dead.
Okay. Someone's saying, what should someone do if he works in banking/finance but now has large financial obligations? Is his dua not answered so long as he works in this industry?
Yeah, if you're working and you're earning every day is unlawful, your dua is not answered. You disobey Allah every single day. In your eating and in your earning, don't go and ask him questions. Don't go and ask him requests. They'll be rejected. So
banking/finance specifically.
Banking and financing, if that specific act that he does every day is unlawful, then yes, your wealth is unlawful and your dua will not be accepted. What is Khilafah now saying? What is he saying? What's going on here?
I've been reading these questions, so it's like, what the heck? Oh my god, it caught me lacking. Usually I'm quick with the bands, but I'm reading the questions.
I mean, he's saying a lot of things here. All right, next. Shadee.
You're on your computer. Where's the khilafah on there?
Ruling on overeating, highly discouraged. What does a black heart mean in a dream? Allahu a'lam. But maybe something not good, but Allah knows best.
Alright, anyways.
Couple more questions before we wrap up for the week. Does mentally insane not held accountable? Someone who cannot do tamyiz, cannot know his right from left, top from bottom, no sharia applies to him. He's not obligatory upon, not obligated to do anything. Harris Ahmed is upset. Why aren't you answering me? Don't get upset and send those kind of messages. Just put the question again, because now I got to scroll up. Omar's got to scroll up.
That's what I always say. Like, if you want your question to be answered, like,
yeah,
don't just say why aren't you answering me, or scroll up. Send it one more time. But let's see. If a person, no, we already read that. Is synthetic farming food production permissible as it's grown in unnatural conditions?
Synthetic farming is not impermissible, no. If it's not unhealthy.
How does a Muslim convert handle organizing funerals for disbeliever parents?
Non-Muslim is just buried in a normal way without the sunnah of ghusl and wrapping and salah. You just bury him in a normal way. Yeah, so you may still wrap the person, have a casket, and just bury the person. But there will be no ghusl, nor will there be janazah, nor any dua.
Is it allowed to pray in a room with idols in a multi-faith room?
We should either cover the idol or face the opposite direction. It's like one of those multi-faith rooms where they have maybe a Hindu section, so you can cover the idols or face the opposite direction.
When we speak about Allah and say fi haqqihi, how can we translate this properly?
Fi haqqihi, I would prefer, for example, what do you mean fi haqqihi?
In his right, I guess? Is that what
Yeah, Allah has rights, in his rights, yeah. I think we talked the other day about Abu Hanifa, saying Imam Abu Hanifa, he disliked for someone to say, bihaqqi fulan, because it gives the image that Allah owes somebody and something. And they could say, you can say some other wording that doesn't give the impression that Allah owes somebody something.
Are we allowed to say istighfar during workout even though we aren't fully focused?
Repeat that?
Are we allowed to say istighfar during our workouts even though we aren't focused?
Yes, you can make istighfar while you're jogging, working out. Here's a question that says, as a convert, my family can bury me normally. Then if you're the Muslim, then a Muslim needs to bury you in an Islamic manner, in a Muslim graveyard, with ghusl, with kafan, shrouding, with salat al-janazah.
Is makeup haram, and why is it haram?
Makeup is unlawful for it. Zina in general is unlawful. Zina is what would make someone attracted to look at somebody, and that's unlawful in front of other men. It's lawful in front of your direct, immediate family and husband, of course.
Thoughts on Tib al-Nabawi?
The Bin Nabawi is wonderful. I wouldn't say that we should ignore regular medicine.
Yeah, and then he said, my mom has back pain and is confusing prophetic medicine with these homeopathic grifters.
You mean you don't want her doing Reiki and stuff? But Tib al-Nabawi, there are only a few medicines that the Prophet ﷺ specifically gave. And you could do those, but you don't have to ignore conventional medicine.
Someone's asking where to seek marriage when there's no local community or family. Are there any recommended services?
That's why I'm telling you, we're getting into this more and more because people are having trouble finding husbands and wives. So we're working on this. We are really dedicated to this now. Cupping is definitely one of the Tib al-Nabawi, part of Tib al-Nabawi. The Prophet ﷺ talks about cupping, and wet cupping is something the Prophet did regularly. So we should do that. Maybe McCurry swag, your mom could do that for her back pain.
How someone should give advice to sister or family that wears makeup and leaves hijab?
You have to just advise them, I guess, nicely, but maybe the women better off to advise that if they're going to get sensitive about it. But it's all a struggle of trying to bring our family members into good environments so that we don't have to talk directly, because keep in mind, you have this relationship for a long term. It's long term. So you have to try to bring them into a good environment for, and they can hear messages from there.
Brother, it's Khilafah. No, we're not scared of you, Khilafah. You're an internet warrior. You wouldn't say that to anyone's face.
Yeah.
Like, these people are very comfortable online, and they won't say anything in person. Anyways, any advice for people who are scared to get married because they've seen so many failed marriages around them?
Scared to get married, see too many failed marriages around them? Well, why don't you start looking at the successful marriages? It's where you put your attention. Put your attention to the successful marriages. There's a lot of them. A lot of successful marriages. It used to be like 99% in the old days. Well, maybe not, but it felt like that, right? It felt like that. That's the point that when I was young, when somebody in the class said that their parents were divorced, we didn't know what that even was. That was like so rare to see. So look at the successful ones. What is Iblis's goal? لِيُهْلِكَ الْحَرْثَ وَالنَّسْلَ. Should we abstain from Hollywood movies and TV shows? Well, I'll tell you this, 99% of their goal is to destroy people's akhlaq. If not their goal, that's the result. Probably not their goal is to make money, but it's to destroy akhlaq. for sure. If you don't abstain from them altogether, you keep that in the back of your mind. And always know that we're not immune to subconscious thoughts and ideas. Shere Khan says, is it shirk to believe Allah created laws of attraction? First of all, we do not know with any certainty that our thoughts can attract anything. However, the fact that, let's say you do believe in something that's pseudoscience, hypothetically, let's position it as pseudoscience. Pseudoscience being a belief that I have that is not backed by demonstration, but it's a hunch. Is that a fair assessment of pseudoscience, Omar? Pseudoscience is like a belief that I have that is not backed by actual scientific experimentation. That's a good definition, right? But you attribute it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You've removed yourself from shirk. But you cannot state this as a fact. You could just say it's a hunch that I have. Maximum, it's a hunch. We all have hunches in life. We see correlations and we attribute causation. We may be right, we may be wrong. We may be right or wrong. We can't ever really say. So that's where it's in the gray area. As long as a person believes that that sabab is created from Allah by Allah in the first place, then that's law. That you're far from shirk at that point.
Working for defense forces of your country, haram or halal, namely programming websites.
Working for the army, the military of your country is unlawful if they engage or have a likelihood to engage in an oppressive war. But if you're in a country like, let's say, Guyana, maybe 1/3 of the country of Guyana is Muslim, and now their president is Muslim, maybe more than 1/3, maybe half of them are Muslim, working for the army with no sign that they're going to do engage in an oppressive war, then we can't say that that's unlawful, no.
Thank you, Mr. Curry Swag.
Mr. Curry Swag has started the Omar fan club.
All right. Should we take age into account when considering someone for marriage if a man is a lot older but not married?
You can take age into account. Yep. Nothing wrong with taking age into account. It's what you like. If you have an issue marrying somebody who's a certain number of years older than you, then it's no different than not liking how he looks or not liking where he plans to live. Those things that are essential for you. There are only a few absolute, like, we're not even non-starters, I call them. We're not even having a discussion. There are only a few. Idols in direction of Qibla in multi-faith room. You have to cover it with a blanket or with a shawl or something. If you can't cover it, then I think you'd have to pray somewhere else.
Also, so this guy, like, he keeps coming back with the new account and spamming.
Yeah.
Like
Is he obsessed?
So we're not scared of your question or whatever. I just don't
He wants me to say something racist. That's what it is.
No, he's saying something about zina or something crazy. I don't know. But if you ask the question genuinely, like, there's no point answering. You're just being disrespectful. Using haram to gather attention for a potential halal intent. I'm a content creator and use music. Sufis in India adopted music for da'wah. Thoughts, ya Sheikh?
It's a gray area for sure, 100%. I can't say yes to that.
But he's saying using haram to gather attention for a potential halal intent.
It's a shady area. Ask some other muftis.
If husband's family is non-Muslim, must wife be covered in front of husband's father and mother?
No. Your father-in-law is forbidden for you to marry forever, and you may reveal your hair in front of him, even if he's not a Muslim.
Is chess haram?
Is chess haram? Poor Ali Ahmed has been asking this for ages now. Chess is not forbidden. No.
Okay. Can you remove or smash idols in a multi-faith room?
Can you remove or smash these idols? Well, you're going to face a fine, that's for sure. So it's not necessarily our property. So I don't think following the sunnah of Ibrahim alayhi salam, the Prophet was in Mecca and he never did that when it wasn't his property. So that's one of the cases where the Prophet's sunnah differs from the Prophet Ibrahim's sunnah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam coexisted with these idols, hating it in his heart and speaking out against it with his tongue, but he didn't use his hands until he had the legal right to do so. So the answer to that would be no. We can't go and make multi-faith rooms and break the idols.
Someone saying TV show / YouTube Rex for toddlers? Question mark.
I don't like any TV for kids, to be honest with you. I took that from my friend who's a psychiatrist, and he said the phone, the iPad, the TV, in that order, are not good for the development of a kid's brain. And he's asked me, what do I recommend? No, I don't know what I recommend, but I definitely know that. What's that one channel? Coco Melon. They've rigged it where your kid will be an addict within the first time. The colors are so bright and it keeps splicing. All the kids are addicted to that. So don't go that route.
Is there a search? I mean, I would question if there's a such thing as a good TV show for kids, because the idea of a good TV show lies in the plot and the message, right? But kids, like, are they able to?
The medium is not good for their brain, not good for their eyes, and then who's the teacher is the other question. But there is, for example, let's say kids are going to watch cartoons. What was that one called? That
Omar and Hannah?
No, not Omar and Hannah's one, but there was that Braillevi one.
I don't know.
There was a Braillevi channel. All the kids walk around with green turbans, and it was good. There was like sirah, different stories. So at least it's something good, and it's on YouTube. Can women cut the front of their hair? Yes. What the Prophet ﷺ, well, I don't want to say if there's an hadith about this, but I do know that when they talk about the hair length of a woman, just as it's discouraged for a man to mimic a woman, it's discouraged for a woman to mimic a man and have a predominantly male type of haircut. Just discouraged because it takes away from the beauty of a woman and it's in her hair. So, but that has to do with the back, not the front.
We got two things. John Cher, our man, Dr. John Cher, he's saying LED screen is bad, dopamine surge is catastrophic, screen time limits, and back to old school ways of learning.
Totally agree.
Thank you, Doctor.
Totally. I'm very suspicious of everything that's in the modern times. It's not good for our brains, not good for our bodies.
And then someone's asking on that topic of women's hair is what's the logic between covering women's hair, not only in Islam but all of the Abrahamic religions, one way or another encourage for women to hide their hair.
That's true, yeah, in front of other people. Well, what's the default? The default is that a woman is not in front of these other guys. That's the default. So her going in front of these other guys is like a rukhsa. It's like an exception in the first place. And those other guys, it's just a command from Allah. They don't have the right to see this. They don't have the right to see that hair. It's not their right. Simple as that. And that's why all these previous religions have some form of hijab or other.
Someone's asking, can pray Jama'at? It's related to what you asked before. Pray Jama'at in front of idols, can't move or cover, or pray on my own without idols?
No, khalas, go. If the idols are impossible to cover or not pray in front of, then go somewhere else. You don't pray in the direction of the idol.
How to control your nafs without it controlling you. Sometimes going too hard is the opposite effect.
Yeah, sometimes trying to fight your ego too much or your desires too much, you're actually going to create the opposite effect. So what you need is distraction. Distract your nafs. So when your desires are strong going one way, the solution isn't going to go the opposite way. The solution is try to distract it from something else. Go hang out with your friends. That'll distract you from indulging in the desires of your ego. All right, we got to run. Last question from Omar.
Let's pick a good one. I mean, a lot of people are... this one, I guess. How do you avert your gaze when women now dress in professional settings like they used to only dress in nightclubs, etc.?
There's no solution to this nonsense. To be honest with you, our society today, there's no solution to this. You just try to lower your gaze as much as possible. It's like walking through the jungle with a white thobe. How do you keep it clean? You're not keeping it clean. You try as much as you can, and you make istighfar and tawbah and make wudu, and try to lower your gaze. But other than that, I don't have anything to say.
I had a thought with this AI stuff. I'm not advocating this because it's just like an idea, but it can end up in like some Black Mirror kind of situation, perhaps. But like, you know those glasses like the people wear that so what if you take AI and you have it programmed so that it filters?
That's awesome.
It filters every like thing you see and the hijabifies.
That would be insane.
I mean, they could lead to like, you know.
That solves the problem right there.
But like you wear it and then it detects any woman.
100%.
Like, and it covers up and hijab.
Yeah.
What about that? Like, come on,
Azag.
Is that a good idea?
You hear that? You programmers out there? Call it Oculus. Oc. AKH. All right, folks. Thank you very much for giving us the chance to talk to you all today. A lot of nice questions. A lot of good suggestions. A lot of good comments. Thank you all very much. جزاكم الله خيرا. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك. نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت. نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Kalbe şifa